Most people believe that goals create change. They believe that if they just get clear enough, specific enough, committed enough, that their life will eventually follow. And so they set goals, they write them down, they visualize them, they plan for them, and they recommit to them every January. And sometimes goals work, but just as often they don't. Not because goals are useless and not because the person has failed. Goals fail because they're being asked to do a job that they were never designed to do. So here's the misunderstanding that sabotages most goal setting. People treat goals as the cause of change. They believe that the goal itself is what creates movement. But goals don't create change, they organize it. And that distinction changes everything. A goal does one thing very well. It creates direction. It tells the system, this is the axis that I'm choosing. And that's powerful. But direction alone doesn't create momentum. Something else has to supply the movement, the force. And that force is never the goal itself. And so two people can set the same goal. They can have the same clarity, the same plan, the same timeline. And one of them builds momentum and the other burns out. And the difference is not the quality of the goal, it's identity coherence. So this is where most goal setting advice breaks down. It assumes that once the direction is clear, that effort will naturally follow, but effort doesn't follow goals. Effort follows identity. So when we talk about alignment, there's a simple hierarchy that explains this. Goals live at the directional layer. Identity lives at the causal layer. And action lives at the proof layer. And that hierarchy matters because causes always outrank direction. You can point anywhere you want, but movement depends on what the system can sustain. And this explains something that most people have experienced but never understood. You can want something deeply, you can plan for it, even take action toward it, and it still feels constant resistance. And that resistance is not laziness, it's not self-sabotage, and it's not a lack of discipline. It's an identity mismatch. So many goals are not aspirations, they are compensation. I want more money is driven by scarcity. I want to get fit is driven by rejection, self-rejection. I want success is driven by worth insecurity. And these goals are not wrong, but they are unstable because the identity underneath them contradicts the direction that they're trying to move. So we don't say don't set goals like that. We say don't expect them to hold if identity contradicts them. That's not diminishing goals. That's protecting people from self-blame when goals collapse. And this is why goal setting feels motivating at first. Direction creates clarity. Clarity creates temporary energy, but energy without coherence is going to die. Eventually, resistance appears. And when resistance appears, most systems respond with pressure. Push harder, be more disciplined, stay committed. But pressure doesn't resolve identity mismatches, it amplifies them. This is where goals get blamed unfairly. People say goal setting doesn't work. But the truth is, goals don't cause change. They reveal what's aligned and what isn't. So goals function best as a diagnostic instrument. They ask important questions. Does this identity sustain action? Does emotion stabilize or spike under pressure? Does resistance decrease or compound over time? If resistance keeps appearing, then the system doesn't say try harder. It says there's an identity contradiction upstream. That's not anti-discipline. That's a structural intelligence. When identity and goals are aligned, something different happens. Action feels cleaner. Consistency stabilizes. Discipline becomes supportive instead of forceful. And the goal doesn't feel like a demand. It feels like a direction you naturally move toward. This is why some people appear effortlessly consistent. Not because they're superhuman, but the goal matches who they already believe that they are. Discipline becomes reinforcement, not compensation. Goals don't fail because people lack willpower. They fail because they're positioned too high in the hierarchy. They're being treated as engines instead of instruments. So here's the clean position. Goals are necessary. Goals are not sufficient. Goals without identity alignment create friction. Goals with identity coherence create momentum. Goals are not diminished, they're properly placed. So think of goal setting like navigation. A map doesn't move the vehicle, it tells you where you're pointed. So alignment is what makes the vehicle move. If the engine and the direction are aligned, progress is going to feel inevitable. If they're not aligned, no amount of recalculating the route is going to fix the problem. That reframing changes how you work with goals. You stop asking, how do I commit harder? And you start asking, what identity would make this behavior normal? And once that question is answered, goals stop collapsing. They stop feeling fragile. They stop requiring constant emotional fuel. So this is not abandoning discipline, it's redefining it, refining it. This is not rejecting goals, it's telling the truth about their role. You're not walking away from what taught you structure, you're explaining why it sometimes worked and why it sometimes didn't. Goal setting is not broken. It was just asked to do too much. When you place goals where they belong, they regain their power quietly, stably, and predictably.